everyone. This is Mitchem from the X and One podcast, and welcome to Going X and O, where we interview event winners and great tournament performers. I'm glad here to have with me our first interview with Michael, who just won the recent LVO Invitational of 2025. Michael, introduce yourself, so what you've been playing, and we'll kind of jump into our first question here.
All right. Yeah. My name's Michael. I just recently stumbled upon a win in Las Vegas this weekend. And I've only been playing Legion for just under a year, really. So
Wow.
I'm like very new to the scene. And, this is actually my first tabletop war game too.
Okay.
So I've taken it, I've tried to take it with, everything it's given at this point and, try to come out with some kind of competitive list. And, I'm not trying to say that, I haven't been playing as much, means I'm not a skilled player. I do try to, create lists and, play optimally when I do play. But yeah, I just don't have too much, comparison to Legacy at all,
Sure.
but I've played a few games, I've played a few games before, but
Was this your first like big GT or?
well, actually, I don't know if you consider Orlando Crucible a GT.
Sure, yeah.
I think it is, yeah. But
Okay.
that was my first one
Okay.
ever. And I was playing Empire then. Like this is like just when it first dropped, and yeah, I was just getting dogged on by clones all weekend. And I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
I see how this is gonna go. I see what I need to be doing here. Now I didn't do too bad, but I just felt like I was at a disadvantage. So
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So did you play, I guess you played just a little bit in Legion before it became 2.6. Did you play it
yeah,
all in the old Legion or
yeah.
did you just start with 2.6?
So I started with, I guess I don't know what people call legacy, what people not call legacy, but I started with like the red, green, and blue cards, right?
Okay.
I didn't really get too many games in like competitively or like a tournament. Like it's just me and one of my friends just kind of having fun with the game. And
Yeah.
when we heard it was going to change, we were like, all right, we've only been playing for a few months.
Yeah. That's a good
Like
way to be.
sure. And if anything, like I mean, from a new player, I guess I actually love the changes.
Yeah.
It makes, I think for me personally, I watch like previous competitive like tournaments and stuff just to see kind of, what it's all about or whatever. But
Hmm.
for me, I just feel like everything's more streamlined now and the competitive scene can really flourish because, objectives are, I'm not trying to say they're all the same thing, but they're a little bit more one note and you could build upon that rather than just like, you kind of get screwed if you're playing breakthrough versus like recover, or hostage or whatever,
Yeah, for
where
sure.
it's like
For sure.
completely different games and you're like, whoa, but
Yeah, there's definitely not a lot of automatic win cons anymore in the game
sure.
like there
Yeah.
were before. So yeah, that's awesome. Okay, well, since we're here and everybody's excited, let's talk about this awesome winning list, this Rebel best faction in the game right now. So let me go ahead and share my screen and pull
It
this
is.
up so we can kind of talk about it.
Sure.
Okay, so go ahead and kind of take us through. For all the audio listeners out here, I'll just kind of blitz through this really fast. We have Han, Leia, Bad Batch, Din, three naked rebel troopers, fleet troopers with a scattergun, extra guy, and impact grenades, two rebel sleeper cells, Ewok slingers with forest dwellers, and then two ATRTs, one with the laser cannon and one with the flamethrower. And now that command cards are live, we have This is the Way, No Time for Sorrows, We Do What We Do, I Like Those Odds, Standing Orders, Sorry About the Mess, and Change of Plans. So all of Han's stuff, and then kind
Yeah.
of take your pick. So I guess just kind of take us through what were you trying to build for? What kind of list were you trying to come up with? Are you trying to counter anything specific? And then I'll kind of get into. I'm really curious on why you brought only two sleeper cells instead of three. But we'll
Yeah.
start from the top and work our way down.
Everything has a purpose. And I'm gonna be honest with you, like I like crafted and built this list like almost I'm not gonna say perfectly because obviously every list has a weakness, but
Yeah.
this one I felt like had all the bells and whistles, and it also kept my opponent maybe guessing as far as we're not relying on one piece in general. I
Yeah.
got like four different heroes, and I got a lot of damage dealing things, but also a lot of cheap things too to just throw at things. So
Mhm.
first for rebels, I'm a very mathematical person as far as like how points are concerned and how I should be spending points. So when I'm using, when I'm picking who's going to be my commanders, who's going to be my, all my big important pieces, they have to like make sense, And
Yeah.
Han Solo starting off he's just great now with 2.6. The cover changes have really made him like an actual threat against like red saving, maybe even red surge saving like units or even impervious. I killed so many ARC troopers with Han Solo. It's been great. Um, he obviously doesn't love to get, in melee, but that's the whole point of having other things to throw at. I have a
Of
bunch of
course.
other units to kind of throw at melee units or and whatnot. But he's just great. He's 100 points. Obviously, Courage 2 Commander is not the best, but he does a lot, and he's also pretty durable with uncanny luck and low profile. And if you get all shots before, which his zero pip lets you do that, you will have tons of dodge tokens to spend. So um, he's
Well,
great.
his command cards are just
Yeah.
unmatched too. I mean,
Oh,
they're
his
so
zero
good
pip
in
is
2.6.
so good. His
Yeah,
zero
the
pip
zero
is
pip is
great.
so great,
The zero
and
pip is like,
really, and then not sorry about change of plans
change of
when just
plans. Yep.
throwing your opponent's timing off, and the
Yep.
game's being only 5 rounds instead of 6. That's so huge
It is. It's huge
nowadays.
because
So
you can kind of just nullify it. If you know someone's going to play a one pip, you have obviously it's still a guessing game of like, oh, are they going to play change of plans or not going to play change of plans? But
yeah,
the beauty of this is that your command cards are hidden before games. Now, I've had tons of reps in with like friends and stuff, and they know I have change of plans. So it's like,
sure.
so then it's like a 50-50. I'm like, am I going to play my change of plans or not?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean, especially when you have like, you know, four different heroes, like
Hmm.
there's a lot of command cards that I could have in my deck. So
For sure. Yeah,
it just makes it better.
yeah. Hmm.
Leia is just, besides Krennic, she is the best support commander in the game right now.
Yeah,
She just does a lot. Her range 3 gun now actually just gives her a better option. Like, yeah, she doesn't have Pierce anymore, but like you can get Pierce from something else, and I just think having range 3 just makes her more of a support commander, because if you really want to shoot, then you want to be further away from the battle. But
yeah. 100%.
Underworld connections on her instead of Han, because um, she has her 2 pip I brought, which is the No Time for Sorrows, which
Yeah.
allows me to issue orders to things that I can maybe move in, which is good with Bad Batch or Din if I ever do need to choose them, rather
Okay.
than Han. And also, there's another reason too, which my improvised orders is also on her, because along with the Underworld connections, that she is just a unit that I'm probably going to keep away from the actual fight.
Yeah.
So having improvised orders maybe lasting a bit longer with Leia rather than Han, where I'm going to be throwing in range 2 of things that he maybe can get blown up. It makes
Interesting.
sense to have it on her instead of Han.
Yeah.
Portable scanner. I mean, sometimes I see people not bring like the extra spotter or extra take cover for some reason on these support commanders, but the amount of value you get for the 6 points and adding an additional dodge or adding an additional aim with these spotter slash take cover characters is just, it's doesn't make sense to not take it, in my opinion.
For sure.
So that's why I have it on her. And plus also dodge token spam is fun unless you're going against clone commandos, but
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I only
Of
had one of
course.
those players
Of
this
course.
weekend. So
Yeah.
um Bad Batch is my first operative that I picked, and Bad Batch is just great right now.
And that is Omega. That is Omega
Yeah,
with them as
of
well. Yeah.
course, yeah.
Hmm.
Omega really throws people off with the range 1, and also
Yeah.
being able to. I picked most of my battle deck is objectives that can be scored range 1 either way, so I can cap
Hmm.
like 2 points, like Bunker Assault, Recover Research. Um, I don't know. So it can throw off your opponents in some way. And also Omega 10 points, extra wound with more damage is just,
Yeah.
better.
Easy win.
Exactly. 150 points for the unit, but you're looking at a 10 health red saving unit that's pretty dangerous, can throw a lot of dice, and it's just, I think it's a fun thematic unit. I
Oh
love the
yeah.
Bad Batch,
They
it's
definitely
like,
sneak up on people too. I mean that we do what we do turn when
oh
they
my
turn into
gosh.
speed 3 and you get tactical 2, you get all the
Oh yeah.
aims and you
Oh
have
yeah.
so you're moving speed 3 twice and then you're shooting. It's
Yeah.
just it's incredible.
It's great.
So,
Din Djarin is probably like my only like slightly off meta pick. Now, I don't think he's that off meta because he's still awesome. He's great for 95 points base, but I like to kid him out because I like to make him high like Jedi slash Sith like
yep.
counter because I don't have an immune pierce and melee unit. So
Mm,
even when I'm throwing like, oh, who's my bounty? I'm probably just gonna pick your force user or whoever has a lightsaber just because I don't have anything else against that. Obviously, Bad Batch doesn't want to be tied up with them, and
yeah.
Han absolutely cannot
Yeah, no,
be
no, no.
engaged with them. So Din's like my go to guy. Comms relay, his independent is insane, like aim and a dodge.
Yeah, it's
Like I
huge.
have to have it, and also like if you can pick and choose with order control with comms relay. Like if you're playing the 1 or 2 pip, which I do have for both of
Uh-huh.
them, you just throw it on someone else that you need to activate. Maybe like a depleted fleet or maybe Han or something.
Yeah, for sure.
Flame projector is just a great one-time use thing. You can kind of nullify a squad with the fistful of red.
Yeah, definitely a must with all the super squads running out there.
Exactly, yeah. Jetpack is, movement speed 3 catches people off guard.
Yeah,
It's just that's the main reason why I like the just Mandalorians in general is because the movement speed 3 is just move, and you're like across the whole board. So
yeah, for sure.
and then spear over rifle because, like I said, I needed some kind of immune pierce
You needed a
melee.
lightsaber that's not a lightsaber.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I
I
mean the
needed a
Beskar spear with his vibro sword gives this is almost the same I run my Din. I love
yeah,
him as like a really
exactly.
good linebacker and stuff. So
Yeah, exactly. So, and he's a fun unit to play, and
oh yeah.
yeah, he's awesome. So
Hmm.
that's why I picked Din. And then for my core, I originally had SX troopers on Rebel troopers, and
Yeah.
because they're very good for the
13
points they
points.
cost. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
insane. But I needed more activations. I was like, I'm not happy with 12. I want 13. I was even looking at a slightly option for 14. I was gonna
Wow.
get rid of my fleet troopers and just take 2 more naked core. But my list was already kind of like, if I'm gonna go against a tank or an ATST of some sort, I might be screwed.
Yeah.
I went to 2 buses the last round. But I go into those games knowing I'm not going to even scratch them, so there's no point in shooting at them or killing them. So
Sure.
I play around that idea that like, unless going against like a Tempest Force, which is one of the lists I was like kind of worried about, like triple ATST, like oh gosh,
Yeah.
with the Astromechs, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to handle that. But okay, I didn't have to go against that, and I was just going to play objective and just try to win that way.
For sure.
So Fleet Troopers, yeah, for me, like that's like one of my favorite Star Wars. Like it's like just Star Wars. Like I love the
Yeah.
helmets. I collect the Lego minifigures of them.
Oh,
I just
okay.
love
It's
Fleet
super
Troopers.
iconic. It's
Yeah,
definitely
they're
like when you
so
think of
cool.
Star Wars, you think of a fleet trooper for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm so glad they got changed because
Oh,
before
dude.
the ready keyword, I was like, oh my god, it's so trash. But and I go charge. They're just a cool unit to use.
Hmm.
Scattergun, extra man. I'm an advocate for always putting extra men on squads because
Yeah.
my idea is that they protect the heavy almost. Like when you have, the 4 guys and then you have to kill the heavy off. It just gives it more pressure to eventually kill the heavy because if you do look at like dice pools and stuff, well, maybe fleet troopers besides, the heavy is really like the damage dealer. Like if you look at stormtroopers with like a T-21, right? Like the T-21 is 4 white and the whole squad is 4 white,
Yeah. Yeah,
you
for
kind of
sure.
have to have this extra personnel just to protect the heavy.
Yeah.
An impact grenade because I needed some anti-armor. Uh, the 3 naked rebels, the agile one keyword on them is just so insane that they're mathematically saving better than storm and like snow troopers now at this point
Yeah, they're
because
easily the best core unit in the game for sure.
yeah, I mean, I would say like there's a slight tie to clones just because they have the
Yeah.
token sharing, but if 16-point difference,
Yeah,
it's hard to say that rebel troopers are not awesome.
for sure.
And plus, naked core, throw, move. You get 2 dodges. They're gonna take a lot to shoot at. So
Yeah, I'm super surprised. I mean, I know you had to bring 3, and I guess so your list is 13 activations, not
yeah,
14.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming these guys are just kind of backline objective
Oh, yeah.
cappers,
Oh,
not
yeah,
really
they are.
shooting at anything, just kind of just there.
Yeah, and when they do need to shoot, and I've definitely shot with them a few times in my games,
Uh-huh.
four black is nothing to scoff at. If you
Sure.
really need an aim, you're
Yeah.
looking at 3 hits statistically, and you might get one through with a
Yeah.
red save and cover. So, you
Okay.
know,
Okay.
it's not the worst thing in the world for them.
Well, let's get into the really meaty part of this list. Well,
Oh
kind
yeah.
of what I'm really wanting to talk about. So, I mean, I think everyone and their dog is saying 3 Rebel Sleeper cells. I mean, that's
Yeah,
it. That's what you need
yeah,
to win.
yeah.
Well, clearly it's not.
It's
You're sitting
not
here with 2.
sitting there
So
with two.
what's the thought process behind that?
First of
What's
all, AMG, I didn't want to pay you that much money for 3 sleeper cell boxes. second, second, it was more just because the way my order pool or my order control worked in the beginning of the game, like my bad batch card was always my round 1 card,
Okay.
always 3 pip, just for lower priority. If like you play standing orders, then good for you. But the speed 3 into a steady shot was like super important for me.
Uh-huh.
But at the same time, that means I have no order control at all. So the IO and the pool is all I have to look for. And if I pull a sleeper cell too early, I'm looking at an 80-point unit that's just not going to be used. And getting them off on round 1 is the most important, part
Yeah.
of sleeper cell. So
Yes.
that's kind of why I only took 2. And now
Okay.
I brought the astromech because Agile 1 pretty much on a sleeper cell is
Oh,
awesome when you
yeah.
have Tactical 1
100%.
and Nimble. It's great. And targeting scopes is, you could either bring the what is it called? The comms one, the emergency transponder,
Oh,
or the
transponders, yeah.
targeting scope. Yeah, you can either bring either one, but statistically, you're still looking at rolling the same amount of dice if you have an extra aim on turn 1. So I just figured having targeting scopes for the future rounds would also make sense. So
Yeah.
I would just roll an extra black, which 5 out of 8 chance with them. It's great.
Sure. How
Um,
many times did you roll all 12 hits?
Probably a lot, honestly, because you're rolling like 7 hits on round, on the first roll, and you get to
Yeah.
roll like 6 more.
Mhm.
So it's great.
Man.
Yeah, they're very good. I'm anticipating a points increase.
Yeah, I think
I don't
everyone is.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna get nerfed too hard just because it's one of the newer units. Like
Mhm.
Commandos got nerfed pretty damn hard, but
Yeah,
I think for these units, they're just looking at a temp. Like ARC Troopers didn't get that nerf. Like what did they get? A 6-point increase? Like
I think so.
it's not
Mhm.
the worst, and they're a very great unit. So
Well, I think too, like, this is kind of what this is like the most rebel unit that they've had in a while
exactly,
too. So,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it's nice to have rebels kind of back a little bit, and this is a
sure,
big
yeah.
part of it. So hopefully that,
This is a big part, and also the Rebel Core that has just completely changed the
yes,
game. Ewok Slingers. Now, this was because cheap activation number 1.
yep,
I could bring another core, right? But this was the whole point of bringing this thing is that just in case if I pull my special force turn 1, I could just throw out the slingers, and I don't have to spend my eye.
oh,
So
okay,
that was pretty much, and like their access to Scout 1 natural or not naturally, but with 3 points, whatever.
yeah,
Like that's just great for
sure,
value, and also like 6 health unit. Like though they don't surge with white, like you could throw them into something, and say if like you throw them into a lightsaber that has five hits, like they just can't kill the damn Ewoks. So
yeah, yeah. It's still 2 rounds that you're tying them up.
yeah,
So
exactly. So
so all
that's the
about
beauty of
timing.
them.
Okay,
Now ATRTs, I just like the models, but also like Um, they're just I think they're the best support for Rebels right now. Tauntauns are a little too expensive,
yeah.
and what's the others? Oh, the dish, the
Oh, the
damn dish.
FDs, yeah,
I love the dish. I have a Echo based starter kit, but like if you can't be contesting anything, it's just like it's a hard sell for like how many ever points it is. So,
sure, yeah.
but yeah, flamethrower just for the added threat.
Mhm.
And also super squads or anti-infantry, and then laser cannon because it's so cheap.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
Now I will say the laser cannon is better on the clone ones just because they don't surge to crit. But
Mm.
value, whatever. It's 60-point unit for
Yeah.
6 saves. It's and armor 2 is very, and scout, like it's just a good unit.
But yeah, it's just a mobile wall that you move up to. So yeah,
Exactly.
really
Yeah.
good. Awesome. Yeah. Well, that's really great insight. I really want to try that list. So okay, moving on here. I get what matchups or list archetypes presented the biggest challenge for you, like, in your all your games that you played, and then which ones were more favorable? Did you
Yeah.
think?
For me, my two closest matches were both ties, and well, sorry, I had three close matches out of the six.
Hmm.
Two of them were ties. One of them was a CIS player that I actually knew because we got to know each other like the day before in our little
Oh
scramble pods.
yeah.
Um, and we got paired up round one. And I beat him by like 50 kill points. It was like a really close
Wow.
game. And then he told me that day, he's like, "You better win the whole thing now." I'm like, "Dude, I don't know if that's gonna happen, but and then every single time I would win, he'd be like, "Oh my gosh, you're doing it!" But
That's awesome.
yeah, it was a CIS with Magna Guards, B2s, and Grievous. It was a good
Mm,
list. He was a good player too. It gave me a little trouble because the static nature of recon mission plus recover research just didn't allow me to play objective properly. Like
I
we were
see.
just tying, we were just scoring everything, and it's like
Yeah.
who cares at the point? I just need to kill you by victory point. And Han Solo just beasting around a bunch of B2s and killing off B2s and Magna Guards,
Hmm.
was kind of what saved me that game.
Mm,
Um, Now Rebel mirror matches were the worst because they're just good, and also uh playing against other sleeper cells and other dodge spamming like creatures is difficult.
yeah.
Um, my easiest matchups were low activations, definitely. Like some of my games, if you look at like my scores, I played against a 7 activation triple Dark Trooper Moff Gideon list on my for my second round, and
Yeah.
he was a good player. I knew he was a great player, and we were playing Bunker Assault, and he just couldn't advance fast enough because I guess he was focused more on killing rather than moving on to objectives. And I just kind of scored a lot of points. I think the game ended up being like 17-1 or something because I just blew up like
Wow.
both bunkers and it just got out of reach. Then I played against a 501st ARC Trooper list with Anakin. That low activation just didn't work out for him as well. It's just, I overwhelmed them. I overwhelmed their breakthrough spots with just random troopers, and kind of helps me win those games.
Sure. Interesting. So low acts. So like
Yeah.
the 8, 9,
Oh
maybe
yeah.
even 10 activations was still a
Yeah.
little low. I mean, you're
Yeah.
still outnumbering
I'm
by 3 to
13.
1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I
Wow.
was, I
Okay.
was, I was hard pressed if I was gonna find someone that had more activations than me besides like Mowgli's 18 act list.
Yeah. The 18 act Ewok list, of course.
Yeah. Exactly.
So awesome. Okay. Well, I guess we kind of talked about it when we were talking about your list, but are there any changes to your list that you would have made? Hindsight being 2020.
Yeah.
Just anything off the cuff that you would change, or
Um, that's a
we
really
kind
good
of you wanted to go
question.
to 14 acts. Did you
Yeah, I
really think
did
you
want
needed?
to. Did I
Did you
need
think you
to?
needed it?
I mean, I guess not, because
Yeah.
at that point, I think I out activated every single one of my opponents by at least two. I think my highest one
Wow.
was 11 acts. Um, but, I think it was built beautifully. Now, maybe you can make a case. I was running, instead of Bad Batch before, I was running Sabine and Clan
Mm,
Ren.
okay.
Like that was one of the lists I won like a non-qualifying tournament before.
Yeah.
And Sabine's good. Gunslinger is just a great keyword now.
Sure.
Um, you could make a case for her as well, but Bad Batch is just better points wise. Like they have twice the wounds, and
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
uh, but other than that, really not. Like I needed the scattergun fleet trooper. I mean, just for an offensive like scare, because they can dish out a lot of damage with the charge and stuff. And
Yeah.
impact, I kind of needed that. But other than that, I think I was running two flamers before, but I just needed
Mm,
to get more impact and lower my points. But I think
yeah.
everything looks great. I wouldn't even say I needed another sleeper cell because, like I said, my list was built because, I even if you get that third sleeper cell really early, you're not
Yeah,
going to
you had
get too
this.
much value from it, you
Yeah,
know?
that's a great point. I didn't even think about because I've always run 3, and I've run into that problem multiple times about
Exactly. Yeah.
bringing out an early sleeper cell and just having to hide them because they're not doing anything.
Exactly.
So I
Yeah.
have like 3 dodges and 3 aims, and I'm just like, "All right,
Can't do
cool."
anything.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, all right, well, kinda moving on to bigger general things. What are your
Sure.
thoughts on the future, of the Rebel meta and just kind of Rebels in general coming up? I know April is around the corner,
Yeah.
but, I really think this tournament set a lot of trends that we're gonna see continue with
Sure.
6 of the 8 top 8 being Rebels.
Yeah. It's a
So
lot.
just kinda what are your thoughts on that going
Now,
forward?
I will say the grand tournament had a bit more of a spread as far as the
Yes, very
factions
much.
were concerned.
Yes.
But I mean, yes, the invitational, guess you can you know, say it's more competitive or whatever. But yeah, you're looking at a sleeper cell increase for sure.
Yeah.
Now the point that I was like, I started off playing Empire, and I freaking love Empire, and I'm so sad like they're in such a bad spot right now
Gun
because
lines just aren't in right now, and
no, absolutely
it's
not.
just
Like,
and that's the only thing they got, so
yeah, like you're looking at high value for range 4 when you're pretty much always in range 2, you know? It's like
yeah.
most of the units in the game for Empire are just not usable, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But what I will say is that when you're looking at April and you're looking at like when is this next card revamp going to happen, because there's plenty of units in the game that really need changes. Like they've already discussed that Jin Urso needs a change, you know, and a bunch of other units that just need changes, you know. Um, you know, I don't think AMG is on the method of like nerfing things unless it's like really out of hand like clones were. That was
Yeah.
embarrassingly out of hand. Now Rebels, yes. The troopers might get a slight increase because I think they're just way too greatly valued.
Sure.
And Sleeper Cell.
I think, veteran units are just not where they thought they would be, and
Yeah.
they're just completely overshadowed by with how good Rebel Troopers are, so
Exactly. Yeah, you're looking at, you know, 3 core options. And now I will say that the Mark IIs, the detachments of those vets are like they're like insane value.
Yo, yeah,
And
100%.
like 38 points or 4 wounds courage too, and a great dice pool that doesn't scale with damage
Yep.
is like
Yep.
insane. It's like what? But,
Yeah.
you know, prepared position is it's a hard keyword to play. There's a reason why like you only saw like maybe 1 or 2 people even bring Garrison.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think AMG is on the point of we're not going to nerf things, we're going to update other things, and I think everyone's kind of waiting for the cards to come out and the new things to come out to see where other units will be at. Because shit, I'm waiting for Empire to get a buff because I love playing them in the Legacy. They were great, and
Yeah.
now they're like, oh my god, it's hard to even find an Empire player that's, you know, cracking. I think there's only 2 out of like all of them that even made it past like 18 or something up at
Yeah, I think
64.
so. Yeah,
Was rough.
hopefully it'll be interesting. I know they've talked about Callus and I think Lando
Yeah.
as well, so it'll be really interesting to
Yeah,
see what they do with
exactly.
contingencies and stuff like that.
Sure, yeah.
Um, just kind of wrapping up here. What would your overall takeaways from LVO? What kind of trends did you see? Did you see any new emerging list archetypes? And did you see like any specific units being taken over other units? So,
That is
what
a
were your
great question because this is one of my only few tournaments I've been to. Now, what I will say is that yeah, obviously you've seen a lot of Rebels being played.
Yeah,
Now I did play in a tournament. I did play in a big tournament. I played in a lot of other tournaments too at this point, but Crucible, I guess, was a good standing for me to understand kind of what it was before Sleeper Cell. And Rebels just great. The core there, but there isn't really many things that you could like do a lot of damage with.
yeah.
And I think with the change with Sleeper Cell, you just were given the opportunity to like do damage now with Rebels, which, you know, with Gar, which was with the last meta, you know, double charge with 2 aims and targeting scopes, maybe even tenacity with arc troopers was just insane. You know, it was like,
Hmm.
what? Why
Hmm.
you? And plus, I can't even kill your models too. Like that's the worst part too. So, yeah, that was a different change. Like I just felt like I actually had some kind of answer to clones with, you know, out activating them, because before it felt like 10 activations or even 11 was like a, you know, mainstay with
Hmm.
clone list.
Hmm.
Um, Now, yeah, I feel like I feel like other core everything kind of builds off the core units, and with Rebels having some of the best core in the game, if not
Hmm.
the best, it's hard to look somewhere else. It's hard to for another faction to catch my eye, like to be
Hmm.
like, this is the new competitive one. Like
Hmm.
I still want. I have a tournament coming up in like a month or so. I want to bring Empire. I'm gonna bring Empire, but for me, like if I'm gonna build a competitive list, it's hard to say like, oh, the 40-point Rebel Trooper that saves more, does more damage, than the Stormtrooper who can't even really use the precise one keyboard if it has a suppression on him. It's like, come on, I can't even get value from like the keyword.
Yeah,
I just feel like, you know, I feel like things should be looked at mathematically with AMG's sake to change the meta in such a way that most units are usable, because unfortunately for competitive, I guess maybe it gets to a point where like this isn't was I have to use the Rebel Trooper, which
sure.
kind of sucks, but
Hmm.
you know, it is what it is. Competitive
Yeah.
is competitive, and
Hmm.
you got to bring the best stuff, really. So
Yeah, it's so crazy how much it changes from, every quarter almost. It seems like there's a really kind of flip in the meta, or like,
sure,
because clones were at the top for so long, and I think people were really assuming that they were going to dominate at LVO,
yeah,
and then all of a sudden you have all these like 12 plus, 11 plus rebel activation lists that are just like,
yeah,
I'm just going to have three more activations than you, and you're not going to be able to do anything after.
exactly, yeah,
So, and yeah, so I thought that was really interesting. Last question here. What
sure,
are you looking forward to most in Legion in 2025? Any units? Anything in
yeah,
particular? Maybe even throw out a wish list there. I mean, we kind
sure,
of we kind of already talked about it. We know your love for Empire and anything
yeah.
Empire. Anything else? Um,
This is true. I mean, the two new units that are coming out or have came out at this point, are gonna be meta changing. They're gonna be very, very good. I don't like it when people tell me like, "Oh, they're gonna be okay." I'm like, no, these things are gonna be great. The infiltrate and scout keywords on these aquas and crabs are some of the undervalued keywords in this game. Infiltrate being just a buffed version of scout, essentially, but um,
yeah,
they're gonna be very good. I expect a CIS resurgence. I mean, they did well. EXD is still good. There's still good things for CIS, but it's gonna make it's gonna make it a more of a cater to anti armor because these two units are gonna be very, very good. We'll see what the ARF troopers do. We'll see what if that kind of revives, maybe a cheap activation of some sort, because I think the cheapest clone activation is literally the infantry. Maybe I guess pikes technically, but who's running pikes?
yeah, yeah,
Um, so maybe you might see a resurgence with, a cheap activation. I don't think ARF troopers are going to be cheap, but uh, we'll see. And I'm excited for all the rescaling, or sorry, remodeling of
yeah.
the
Resculpts and
miniatures.
stuff.
Now, I love painting. I think when my friend first introduced me into the game, I was like, I wasn't like super in. I mean, I was into the game. I was like, I love board games or whatever, but like, gosh, like I love small little miniature things. I love Legos. Shit, I could paint these things too. Like you're telling me. So I was like, this is all super cool, right? So,
Yeah,
I think they're cool that they're coming out with resculpts. It also just shows me that obviously, I bought all the other old models, but at least I get to know that the company that is running this game is investing a lot of money into this, investing a lot of time. Um,
yeah,
Going through a change like this, I know people dog on them for not just releasing it sooner, which makes sense, right? You
sure.
should have like a polished product, but I think it shows to the community how much effort they're putting into this game, and hopefully it's a big game. Hopefully in the next 10, 15 years, and you could see a lot more people playing Star Wars Legion.
Yeah.
Um, and then I guess for me personally, the Imperial High Command in 2026, that looks pretty cool. I'm like,
Yes,
oh, Thrawn
I'm
and
so
Tarkin.
excited for Thrawn.
I don't know about the probe droid. I don't know what that's really gonna
Ah, who
do.
cares? Yeah, who cares about that?
But
Yeah,
the other
I
ones are
want
gonna be really
Thrawn.
cool.
So
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah,
yeah, those are it's all exciting stuff.
yeah,
I'm happy that I got into the scene now. Oh man, just my experience meeting a bunch of new people, and it's been a lot of fun. So, and
that's awesome.
winning this tournament, that's crazy. I know and
Oh, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
because
'cause
we're both
you
from
guys are both on
Florida.
the Florida Man team, right?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'm not on the Florida Man team, but
Oh,
I am from Florida, and I played a lot of games with those guys.
gotcha, gotcha, okay.
Um, I just yeah. So I knew what I was getting into, and I knew I was playing him. I was like, oh gosh. But yeah, it's all good stuff. I'm glad I took the initiative after my friend introduced me to join the hobby, and it's been a great
Awesome.
time.
Well, good deal, man. Well, Michael, thank you again for being on the first episode of Going X and O.
Appreciate it.
Really great insight. Loved your list and
Thank
loved
you.
your story. Guys, make sure you check out the latest episode of X and One that's posted on the website. Michael, do you have any shout outs or anything you want to plug?
Man, I wish I did. I seriously don't have too many things I can shout out, but I appreciate, I guess, let's see. I mean, Space Coast Legion, they're closer area to me that I've been to a few of their events and a bunch of good guys there. Obviously, the Florida Man group that,
Yeah.
always shows up in Florida for me and creates a lot of great events. And I mean, I guess I'm starting a team, or like not a team, but like a little group in my local scene to hopefully revitalize my community and get more people involved so I can play more games rather than just the one friend I play against most of the time. So
That's awesome, man. Well,
yeah.
thanks again. And guys, just remember X and O is just a really good rebel list away.